I have always adored this person, and I really wanted to meet him in person. But there are so many of them, like I have to really count. Mr. Devdutt Pattanaik. So thank you, because again I have started reading with your book after so many years. Please welcome Devdutt Pattanaik, who is one of India's most celebrated authors, mythologists, illustrators and speakers, who has masterfully made ancient Indian wisdom resonate in modern life. His unique storytelling connects Indian mythology with modern life and leadership. Let's invite him on stage, Mr. Devdutt Pattanaik, with a big round of applause. Sir, thank you so much, and I am so much overwhelmed. I'm running short of words, and the mic is all yours, sir, for the keynote address. Thank you. Thank you.
Namaste, my name is Devdutt Pattanaik, and I write on mythology. And everyone asks me, nowadays when everybody talks about Ramayana, Mahabharata, that sir, ye sach hai ya jhoot hai? Is this true or false? And I've been asked this question for the last 30 years, and I think it will keep asking. People will keep asking this question for the next 1,000 years. Because we do not know how to classify faith. Fact is everybody's truth, and it's based on measurement. Fiction is nobody's truth, and it's based on your imagination. But faith, where do you locate faith? Faith is somebody's truth. It is not everybody's truth. It is not nobody's truth. It is somebody's truth. I have a truth, you have a truth, everybody has a truth. America has a truth, China has a truth, Delhi has a truth, Bengal has a truth. All of us have a truth which we express through stories, symbols, and rituals. And that's the world of mythology. It's the world of cultural truths. Let me give you an example. We are right now in Paryushan, which is the holy week for the Jains, and the Jains practice something called ahimsa. Now, when people talk about ahimsa, we look at it as not hurting people, eating vegetarian food. But I'll explain how it is explained in mythology. In mythology, they will say all living creatures are hungry. All living creatures want to eat food. And the act of consuming food produces violence. तो भोग चाहिए तो बलि देना पड़ेगा. भूख लगती है, भूख के लिए भोग चाहिए, भोग के लिए बलि देना पड़ता है. When you kill something, whether you kill a plant or an animal to produce food, a karmic cycle is created. You are in debt, and you have to repay the debt of consumption. And as long as you have the debt of consumption on you, you will keep getting reborn. That's the Indian story. So you have a character in the Mahabharata called Bakasur. Now Bakasur is called a demon, but he's always hungry. Usko hamesha bhook lagti hai. He wants to eat, and he wants to eat so much that he even eats those who serve him food. So वो खाता है और परोसने वालों को भी खा देता है. Now people ask me, how does it applied in real life? So the word for hunger in the corporate world is ambition. We are all ambitious. We don't use the word hungry anymore. I want more and more and more. I'm aspirational, I'm ambitious. We never say people are greedy. We only say people are ambitious. So we want more and more and more, and we want to create a consumption economy. And consumption economy means we create more and more violence, but we never talk about repaying the debt. We never talk about repaying the debt of consumption. Everybody is consuming. When I ask children, who is Bakasur, who is always eating? They'll say, my parents are always eating me. My parent is a Bakasur. They want more and more and more from me. When I go to offices and I ask people, who is Bakasur? They will say, it is the boss. They want more and more and more. They're always hungry. Aur chahiye, aur chahiye, aur chahiye. And then you realize Bakasur is a character from 2000-year-old mythology, but it explains our desire to consume. And I think the Jains, when they were told that you have to start fasting, it is to sit back and ask the question, Why do we consume? What is the cost of consumption? How do you repay the debt of consumption? And can we create a society which is based on inspiring to be bakasurs? Is our whole life about being hungry and craving more and more and more? Or is it also about feeding people? Not just about eating, but also about feeding. तो खाना खाना है या खाना देना है? And that is why when you go to temples in India, you give naivedya before you ask for prasad. You have to give in order to get. Only when you give do you get something. And so the question is, in Paryushan, to ask, is ahimsa, which is not eating, has to be connected with aparigraha, which is not holding on, but investing in the market and creating an impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kindly have a seat. And lots and lots to hear from you, more stories. But for that, this man, again, needs no introduction. How do I introduce someone who I deal with 24/7 for the odd so many years of my life? And we all love his voice. Jimmy, so with your permission, whenever I hear your voice, my dil goes, Okay, please put your hands together for the voice that has ruled the airwaves for over 3 decades. The one and only Jimmy Tangri, known as the king of radio in Kolkata. Jimmy Tangri is more than an RJ. He's a legend of the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him on stage. And the session begins with Jimmy Sir, Mythology and Modern Leadership, Ancient Wisdom for a Better Tomorrow.
Thank you, Nilanjana. And a warm welcome to the impactful personality who's sitting with us. It needs no introduction. And I was truly impressed by your keynote. I just want to kind of weave a little bit into it. You know, there was that hunger, greed, ambition. Today, the world, look at Trump, look at China, look at everybody, very hungry, looks very hungry. A lot of ambitions. The world is in a turmoil. Is this hunger ambition? And if this is ambition, where does it end? In terms of mythology, where would you like to start from when we look at the turmoil going on across the world? Wars, ambition, greed. Everybody wants more and more. Hungry, as we say. What do you feel about that?
So what has happened around the world is there's a too much focus on the self. And you know, everybody in school learns about Maslow's hierarchy, and you're told that the highest state is self-actualization. You go to some gurus, they will tell you about self-realization. They'll tell you the higher self, the lower self. Everybody uses the word self. We never talk about others. Now in nature, no organism exists in isolation. Every organism eats another organism and is eaten by other organisms. So a tree eats things around it and is eaten by insects, plants, birds, fruits, animals. An animal will eat a plant, a carnivorous animal will eat a herbivorous animal, but there will be someone who will eat him. So there's constant consumption happening. I consume and I get consumed. I eat and I get eaten. But what has happened with modern, what we call the enlightened world, is we have focused on the eating part, not on the feeding part. And the reason I brought it up is because, you know, this is the time, 1 week, where every Jain is told to do fasting, to remind us that life is not just about consumption, it is also about feeding the other. And this feeding process is something cultures have forgotten. So countries around the world are thinking, I have to feed my people, my country. My country is very important. I'm not thinking about how do I enable the neighbor. How do I enable people around me? Because I don't want to create an ecosystem. We are being encouraged to be parasites. rather than symbiotic creatures who help each other. And listen, we are proud of it. I'm proud to be a parasite. I'm proud to consume more because we call it high return on investment. I'll give you less and I'll take more. And that's the model that we are being told without thinking about it. Nobody is thinking in depth about what we're doing, and now we're paying the price of that thought process.
So when we look at mythology, you know, when you go back thousands of years, every action had an equal and opposite reaction, literally, you know, that Newton's law, as they say. So in these circumstances and situation which is going on around the world, you've written a lot of books, you've actually delved on a lot of stuff which has happened, and there has been kind of mythological solutions which have also taken effect. So currently the nature of the world and where it's going, you know, if you have to rewind back hundreds of years, where do you see what happening next if you have to look back thousands of years?
You know, if you go millions of years before human beings, there were plants and animals. And all plants and animals over generations behave exactly the same way. So let's say 1,000 years ago, a monkey behaved exactly the way a monkey behaves today. 1,000 years ago, giraffe behaved exactly the way a giraffe will behave today. But humans 1,000 years ago behaved very differently from humans behave today. And there are only two things that changes human beings. One is technology, and the other is the stories we tell. So this technology. So we had Stone Age, then we had Bronze Age, Iron Age, agriculture, now we have industrialization. So the technology keeps changing, and that's what everybody talks about. So science is about technology, and everybody gets excited by technology. But along with technology, we are telling stories to people. So let me give you an example of the story that America tells. I recently read a book which said that American presidents typically are lawyers. So if you study the history of all the American presidents, they come from a lawyer background. Now, America is strongly a Christian country. And when you read the Bible, you will have a chapter, you have the concept of the judgment day. So God is a judge. So to survive in front of God, you have to be a lawyer. And therefore, you have an entire culture. So it's not accidental that America is built by lawyers and everything is about law, law, law. They don't talk about justice. They talk about law and lawyers, and they talk about judgment day. It comes from a Christian ecosystem. But China does not follow this story. They don't have the concept of judgment day. They don't have the concept of lawyers. Chinese mythology tells that the world's first emperors were engineers. And even today, the Communist Party is led by engineers. And all engineers do is they think of solution, solution, solution in a very mechanistic way. They don't think about human beings. They think about technology. And they build dams and roads and infrastructure, which is what China keeps doing. Because even the first emperor of China built a dam and he built canals. He's the first water engineer. Wu, his name is Yu. It's a mythological character. So, story has not changed. We are still following the same stories. You have a group of people who want to be right all the time, and that's America is trying to be right. While Chinese are saying, we don't care whether it's right or wrong, we want solutions. The Western world is like the evangelicals. They want to sell an idea. Good word, good life, we'll always sell you an idea. And the Chinese say, we'll build a great wall, we'll block you. Now we have a firewall, we'll always block you. We'll always do what we want to do. So the world has not really changed. 1,000 years ago, there was a great wall. Today, you have a firewall. 1,000 years ago, the West was evangelizing. They were talking about Jesus is going to save the world. Now they are saying AI is going to save the world. So there's always a savior who is going to save the world until we realize the savior is not good enough. And a new savior comes along. And the Chinese just build a wall and say, leave us alone. We want our emperor. So it's the Communist Party behaves exactly like the dragon emperors of the Forbidden City. They are not behaving any differently. So from a mythological point of view, the world has not changed. We are still living the same life again and again. And we thought that technology is going to make us wiser, but no technology takes away jealousy.
Okay, yes.
No technology takes away jealousy, right? AI won't take away jealousy. Elon Musk can take you to Mars, but he will never take away your jealousy. And as long as there is jealousy, you will have people playing this game of, we will call it ambition, but actually I'm jealous of you. I want more than you. And it's jealousy which nobody talks about. This deep-seated jealousy which exists in, if the rich man is jealous, then he will never have time to take care of you. He's busy trying to satisfy his own hunger. When you are hungry, you will only feed yourself, right? You will not have time to serve food to others.
And we are creating a society where everybody is told, stay hungry, stay foolish, stay hungry, stay foolish. Basically, don't look at other people who are hungry. Only focus on your hunger. And that's what the richest and most powerful people around the world are doing right now. And that is not healthy. We are like dogs fighting over the bone. And this line, dogs fighting over the bone, comes from Mahabharata.
Okay.
So it's an old line. At the end of the day, despite all our education, Yudhishthira says, we are dogs fighting over a piece of meat. And that's, I think, a very important sentence, because that's how our education system has become. We encourage people to think about the self and not the other.
So we are actually going back millions of years or thousands of years, and the same thought is rotating in a very, very different way, but the thought process is the same.
We are just doing the same thing. We think we are different because technology is different. But nobody's paying attention to the stories we are telling. American story, Chinese story, everywhere the stories are very different. And the story as long as the story remains the same, you will continue to behave exactly the same way. Unless you start listening to other people's story and saying that there are alternate stories in the world.
So when you're saying alternate stories in the world, now we've been talking about hunger, ambition, I, not the we. You know, give, don't give, but take. So what are the alternative stories, if there are any, where because of the greed, because of the hunger, mythology shown thousands of years ago, a lot of things have changed. A lot of people have suffered. People have to face the consequences. So in the current item, in the current context of the world, are we coming there? Because they say now the third coming, someone will come when the world goes down the drain. So what is your thought on that?
So this is called a savior myth, and savior myth is a very West Asian concept. It's a West Asian idea that the world will go, and that idea comes to India, and you have this idea of the Kali Yuga, and somebody's going to save. And when you read historical texts, 2000 years ago is the first time they used the word Kali Yuga. They said 2000 years ago, the Yavanas are there and there's going to be Kali Yuga. Then the Hunas came, they said it's Kali Yuga. Then the Turks came, they said it's Kali Yuga. The Mughals came, they said it's Kali Yuga. The British came, they said Kali Yuga. Now depending on which party you follow, there's always a Kali Yuga happening, and the opposition thinks they are Kalki. So that's a story that is never going to end, because you always believe that unless you are in control and you are in charge and you are the boss, it's Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is when you are not the boss. Unless, of course, you ask the boss will say, well, Kali Yuga is... So the point is, this idea that, somebody's going to save the world, it's because we are not listening to other people's narratives. I'll give you an example. Ganesh Chaturthi is coming right now, right? And people will say, Ganesh ji ki darshan karo. And everybody in the world tells me, oh, elephant-headed, how can we worship an elephant-headed God? So I'm like, okay, think of it as a piece of art. And now look at the belly of the elephant. And it's a big fat belly, and around it there's a snake. And there's a serpent, nag hai. And in the feet of the snake there is a rat. And on the hand, in his hand he's holding a modak, a sweet fruit. So I said, logically the rat should be running and eating the modak, and the snake should be eating the rat. Right? That's supposed to happen. So that's natural food cycle. But that's not happening because they are content.
Okay.
The presence of the divine makes you content, and you realize, I have enough. And that's what Ganesha is representing. Contentment, not ambition. And therefore, the content rat does not run after the sweet. And the content snake does not run. And that is a representation of contentment. That I am not, like now, because I am content, I can now see other people's hunger. Oh, I am eaten enough. मैंने पेट भर के खाया है, लेकिन सामने वाला नहीं खाया है. Unless you are content, you will never think about other people. And that's what the Ganesha image is trying to communicate. And that image has been around for 1500 years.
But people still not content, though they go Ganesh Chaturthi.
Because they are told darshan karo. And when they go to the temple, what do? The first thing they do, they shut their eyes. The first thing you do, you'll see, go to Ganesh Pandal and you'll see everybody has shut their eyes. They're looking at themselves because dhyan karo apne upar. It again goes back to self-actualization, Atma Gyan. I'm going inwards rather than seeing that, they're talking about hunger, they're talking about contentment, they're talking about restlessness, frustration. And they're saying, if there is no santosh, if there is no contentment, there is no hope for growth. You will not even make money because you're so busy consuming, you will never invest.
And this was in mythology with the image, and that thousands and thousands of years ago, trying to send out a message.
Because money, making money, capitalism, communism, all these ideas are not new. We think they're new ideas. They're not new ideas. They've been around for thousands of years. Wealth generation, wealth distribution, how much should I keep, how much should I give? Why do the gods have multiple hands? Traditionally, until about 2000 years ago, all the images of the gods had only two hands. And then suddenly, about 1500 years ago, you start having all these gods with multiple hands. The reason is, they started using the word grahasti, the hand of the householder, hasta, like hati, hasti. It means that you have two hands to feed yourself, the other hands are to feed others.
Wow.
So the gods have many hands, for themselves. You have to take care of yourself. That is there. And that's how mythology talks to us, using symbols, using art, using poetry. This is not science, it's not literal, it's metaphor, it's symbol, it's choreography, the rituals. But we don't listen to them. We think that, Elon Musk will solve the world's problem. He won't. We saw the rise and fall of a relationship right in front of our eyes.
Absolutely.
Because Buddha has been saying nothing lasts forever. Calm down. You can be the snake chasing the rat, and the rat will keep chasing the modak. This will never end. As animals stop eating when they are full. That's a natural. They are designed that way. But human beings can eat even when they are full, which is what is the Bakasur trap. We get trapped in becoming Bakasur. We keep eating. In fact, in South India, if you go to the temple, there is an image of a head. I don't know if in Bengal it's called a Bajra Mukha, or a Kirti Mukha. They say that he was so hungry, he ate the whole world, and then he got to God and said, give me more food. And he said, okay, you eat your own body. And he starts eating his own hands, legs, feet, and he's only got a head left, and he's still hungry. And God takes his head and puts it on top of the temple and says, look at that. Now everybody will come and they will look at you, but nobody looks at them. They're coming down and saying, God, give me some more food, give me some more food.
So I'm just curious, according to mythology, when will the hunger stop? When will the eating stop? When will the giving start? I'm just curious.
See, when there is empathy, when I look at the leaders of the world and the statesmen of the world today, look at the way they behave on stage. They are onto one-upmanship. They are debating. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm the lawyer. I can win the argument. They're winning arguments. They are not. One is enabling. One is telling, I have the solution. The other is saying, no, but I'm right.
But the arguments are being won with force. If you look at the world today, and if you look at America, it's forcefully winning.
So arguments are always won by force. The boss is always right. And nowhere in this world has argument been won by logic. It doesn't work like that. Because to be triumphant is a good feeling. I want to be triumphant. And therefore they say the rich and the powerful are always going to be right. Because they fund everything. They fund the best lawyers in the world. They fund the judges. They fund everybody. And the point is, that is why the solution is not winning a debate. The solution is listening to other people. We have stopped the absence of empathy in the business world, in the political world, where you exist as part of an ecosystem. That's a statesmanship. Statesmanship. It's not about, when you read the Mahabharata, the point is when you're being told that people tell me the Kauravas were right, the Pandavas were right. It's not about right and wrong. It is about if 100 brothers cannot feed 105 brothers, you cannot have a kingship. Because where will the hungry go? They will attack you. The hoarders will be attacked by the raiders. This is never going to go away. So the battle will continue. And the word for dharma is about repaying debts. It's called rin se mukt hona.
Yes.
As long as you're in debt, you will not get moksha.
And the debt necessarily does not mean you've taken money. It could mean that consumption. Yes.
The fact that I am alive means I owe things to nature. The fact that parents took care of me, society took care of me, education, I have received so much. I am a consumer by existence. So that is why in the Vedic period they would say you have to repay 5 debts. To the teachers, to the gods, to nature, to culture, to ancestors. You have to keep the idea of repaying debts is not being discussed. That we as individuals, because the moment you tell that to a politician, he'll say pay more taxes.
Absolutely. And the moment you tell that to a businessman, what happens? Or an entrepreneur?
The entrepreneur will say, yes, I have to repay my debts. So I go to the bank and say, now you owe me money. You don't have to give. So you can trick the system. Everybody can trick the system. This is not based on policy. This is based on individual thought. Policies can't make you, the point is, that is why the Jains, I always tell people when in Jainism that people talk about ahimsa, they don't talk about aparigraha. You cannot talk about ahimsa without aparigraha. That is why the Tirthankars do not wear a single shred of cloth, saying that they are rich, they come from royal families, they have all the money in the world, but they're saying, I don't want anything. What do you do with it? Not charity. I reinvest it in the market. And I reinvest it in the market, so the Lakshmi comes to me back, and I don't want her back, so I reinvest her back in the market. And then she comes back to me, and I send it back to the market. So I create an ecosystem of prosperity while I am content. I don't want it. So the content person creates the ecosystem of prosperity. In Sanskrit, this is called Mangala. This is the word for this in Sanskrit is Mangala. And it's not a Vedic word. Mangala is a word which was created by the women of India. It is a household ritual. So Mangalyam it is called. To create an ecosystem where everybody is well fed. Therefore you have Sita ki rasoi, Draupadi ki rasoi, where anybody who comes to my house will always be fed. And the same idea is found even in the Bible, where you will say that if you go to the tent of Sarah or the tent of Mary, you will always get warm bread to eat. And there'll always be water to drink. Wherever they'll walk, there'll be water flowing with them. The bread will always be ready to eat. So the idea of filling the stomach, of serving food, of using business not as a battle zone, but as a kitchen. So I don't think a Trump or a Xi looks at their role as a kitchen where everybody is welcome and where we are feeding each other. This idea of I feed you, you feed me does not exist in the world today. It is about how much can I grab for my people, because I have to take care, and we're like tribal warlords. And really, we don't look like, we talk of civilization, but we behave like barbarians.
Absolutely. And, you know, let's get to India. We often hear about the idea of making India a Vishwaguru. Do you think our ancient wisdom and modern innovations are finding the right balance with each other, especially when you look at the Indian context?
I think Indians are too busy to, you know, Ustad Giri jada hai, Ustad kam hai. So, you know, you want to be the Ustad, you know, Ustad Giri, where you show off and
Dadagiri types.
You behave. You know, I always tell children want to be teachers, not because they want to teach students, but because they think teachers are the most powerful people in the room.
Okay.
And so teacher is seen as a position of power, not as a source of knowledge. So I think we have to start, we have to stop scrolling and start searching and focus on curiosity and knowledge.
Absolutely. You know, we are running short of time, but before we end this amazing conversation, I want you to give a message. There are quite a few businessmen, quite a few entrepreneurs here, and all our impact makers. So I would like you to give a message to them and, of course, to the world who's watching you. What would you like to tell them, taking into account about hunger, about taking and not giving?
So I think rather than grabbing success and penetrating markets, we should think about what am I giving society and what I get in return. So giving and receiving. To give is Naivedya and to receive is Prasad. So unless you give Naivedya, you will never get Prasad.
That's a beautiful line. Unless you give, you're never going to get. So remember, it's a two-way reaction. And if you do that, I think as you say, the doing goodness comes back to you. Thank you so much. It's been such a wonderful pleasure talking to you. And to be very honest, I've learned so much. It was truly amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, enlightening us, and what a beautiful conversation I've had with you today. Thank you so much, Devdutt.